building a family doesn't look the same for everyone. In my 30s and 40s, I didn't know about the various types of assisted reproductive support that exist for those of us struggling with this. I'm grateful for the community I found in intended parents that have gone through the IVF struggle like me, that have heard the words, "sorry, no baby this time," one too many times. We are known to be the worst club with the best members, and I am so blessed to have found my tribe in the world of infertility and donor-assisted reproductive life. You're listening to Mothers in Arms. I'm your host, Leslie Lopez. This is episode number 14, part 2 of the conversation with founder and host of Smart is the New Sexy, Arsiak Vartenian. We get into how important mental health support is during a surrogacy journey and being aware of your reproductive fertility health. Becoming a mom in your 40s, I can vouch for also, definitely has its own unique vibe. Arsiak shares her story on beating the clock and sharing her story with her family. Without further ado, let's get into it. Completely understandable, right? Because because of your previous loss, you feel like it's nobody's business yet until you're a little bit more sure, until you're a little further along, until doctors give you a green light, like absolutely no, not this is ours. Did you guys have mental health help during any of those years?
Yes, we saw a therapist. So my husband and I are really big on therapy. One of the things, and I have to give him the credit because he was the one that introduced me to it, like as a couples therapy, not like my own individual therapy. But he always said, the best way to prevent anything is to already have it going. So we started therapy early on in our marriage, and I have to say that really did help us out a lot. We had an amazing therapist that we were with for a really long time until we moved down here to Florida, which I wish we still had him because he's just so good. Whether or not we had an issue arise in our marriage that we couldn't both, communicate it, or I couldn't see his side or he couldn't see mine, where our therapist, he would just come in and break it down where it'd be like, okay, but we had a lot of therapy, and we had an outside professional voice because sometimes you don't want to hear each other.
Yes.
And the one thing I have to say about both of us through this journey, even though at the beginning of my IVF and my miscarriages, he wasn't there emotionally as much as I wanted him to be.
Mm-hmm. I understand that.
He definitely grew and started to, I think I realized that he was really emotionally there for me after we lost our son. But I think that also through all of that, it helped us grow closer together. And just to have an outside voice, someone professionally talking to us about everything, it definitely helped us where we didn't blame each other. That was where my thought was going. That's the one thing as couples, they blame each other. Like the husband blames the wife or the wife blames the husband, and pointing the finger. We learned early on that we're both in this together. Where I blame my husband was I felt like he wasn't there for me emotionally enough when I would go through, he'd be like, okay, Ars, let's keep going, type like that. Okay, this happened. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it moving, which I wanted a little bit more from him. And like I said earlier, I didn't get that until we lost our son. And then he was like, holy smokes, oh my gosh,
I'm sorry.
this is crazy. So that's when I think our connection grew deeper and more. And, but yeah, we never blamed each other for not, being able to conceive, or I was like, it's your fault or your fault. And which in reality, it takes two to make a baby.
That's right.
It takes
Oh,
two to make a baby.
I applaud you for having that already in place and having that support for each other, those boundaries, that groundwork, like that. whether you use it in baby making, whether you use that strategy in all aspects of your marriage, all aspects of your own life. That is so important. Not a lot of people think of couples mental health as a positive, right? They see it as, oh, what's wrong with you, what's wrong with you? But it's not about, mental health isn't about you only seek it out when something's wrong. It's literally setting up the foundation for how you approach things.
Yeah, I agree with you, Leslie. I think you described it so beautifully. Like it is. Mental health is just as important as physical health, right? People are like, why do you still have a trainer when you have a gym in your house? Well, that's because I need someone also to hold me accountable a few days a week because that sets me up for a successful week to be able to go out there and also, do things and work out on my own. And I get motivated by seeing others, out there working out. And I see, let's say, I'll see another woman in there like working out really. And I'm like, oh my God, like she's motivating me. It like takes me to I want to get to that next level. And I truly do believe that, as women, we have such a tendency of judging one another rather than motivating each other and allowing us to be ourselves and appreciating that, the beauty is in our differences. We're all different. So just because woman A, you had a baby the natural way and it was easy for you, doesn't mean that woman B, that comes easy for her. It's nothing that's wrong with her. And women judge more than men.
It's
Women
so
judge more,
true.
and they do. I have to, I mean, listen, I go to church sometimes. I used to go to church when I lived in Chicago, and there was this Arabic church in Chicago that we all went to. It was a Greek Orthodox church because I'm Greek Orthodox. And oh my God, when it was coffee time downstairs after I'm like, get me out of here as soon as possible because they are so nosy. They have no filter. That's why people are like, your feelings don't get hurt. No, try being raised by a Middle Eastern mom. Nothing hurts your feelings. Trust me. Eastern Europeans are the same way. Latin people are the same way.
We
They don't have
are.
no filter. So I grew up in a no filter type like
I get it.
family. And
Yeah.
now that I'm older, I'm appreciative of that because it made me grow thick skin. Like, okay, whatever. But yeah,
Yeah.
try going to church on a Sunday with those Middle Eastern women. Oof. War.
I
War.
hear that. I hear that. Like, yeah, in our brown culture, um, yes, the women tend to be a little more cutthroat with the comments. I remember hearing things like, "Oh, you took the easy road out by hiring a surrogate. Oh, you did a Kim Kardashian move, and it's like there is nothing easy about choosing this route. And by the way, I'm not doing that because I didn't like fail in other ways. I wasn't able to do it in other ways, and that's not why I'm choosing this because I saw it on Instagram.
Or the best one was, I remember when we said we're doing a surrogate, I wouldn't want to mess up my body either.
Oh my God. You heard that in
My
Miami?
response was, I have no problem going under the knife if I need to. And it's much cheaper to have a mommy makeover than to do surrogacy. Let's just put it that way. Okay. It is way cheaper. I could have had like 5 mommy makeovers at this point.
Right?
Let's be clear. So that's somebody, yeah, that somebody said that. Oh, I wouldn't want to mess up my body either. Listen, that's not the reason. That is not the reason. And you know what? There's women out there that choose surrogacy that choose not to say why. And they're beautiful and they have amazing bodies because physically or in their health, there's something going on. So never judge why someone is choosing this path. You don't know why people choose it. And maybe there are women that are out there that choose it because they don't want to mess up their bodies, and that's fine. That is fine. As long as they're great moms when they have these kids and they're there and they're present, who cares? Who cares how they became a mother or how they chose to start their family? That's them. But most women that go through surrogacy choose it because they are physically not able to carry or physically not able to have a normal pregnancy, or physically it puts their lives in jeopardy. So now I'm going to have this baby, and God forbid, now the doctor's telling you, you might not make it through. Like, no,
Yeah.
we don't know. We don't know. And I will say this, about 4 months ago, there was this very prominent realtor in Chicago, very well known. She'd been selling real estate, young girl, I should say. She's probably in her 30s. Um, had a baby, perfectly healthy, goes to deliver. She dies, the baby lives. Perfectly
Oh
healthy.
my
So I'm
God.
not saying that to scare anyone, but we don't know what happens on that. Like when a woman delivers a baby, it is like the biggest miracle. And it is the hardest thing that a woman's body can go through. And it is the most beautiful thing, but it's not easy. So
It's not.
when
These women
people
put their lives on the line.
to have a baby, to start a family. That's why I say women are so beautiful. We are some of the most incredible creatures and human beings on this planet. We bring life. We create life. We procreate. Without us, there's no procreation. If everyone took out women, there would be within like 100 years, everything will die out.
I'm hearing your story, Arsiak, and it resonates with me, the part where you said, you really were in your late 30s, mid 30s when you started to try it and start your family, right? Because you were a career woman, you were busy with life. We were taught most of our life, this is how you don't get pregnant. This, you keep your career, be powerful, do what you have to do. But I really feel today it's important for young women in their 20s and early 30s to know that it is not a guarantee that when you're 35, that's when you're going to start your family. Like, you need to start doing the research of your physical body earlier in life, because you're born with all the eggs you'll ever have. And as time goes on, you don't make more eggs, right? They're only getting older. So it's really important to know where you stand on that whole spectrum of eggs and like fibroids, and just your fertility structure. What does that look like for men and women?
Leslie, I think that's what we're here both to do, right? Both of us, in our cause. Some of the things that one of my biggest things, especially now talking to um, my young niece and my young cousins, and just telling them, we think life lives forever, right? When you're young, you think everything is forever. And in reality, it's not. So I truly do believe, I say, the way you save money, this is the example that I use. The way you save money, how you pursue your career, how you want your life to look like, that's the same way that you should look at your fertility health, right? If you are planning, this is what I want to do. I want to go out there and I want to just, I want to build my career. I don't want to think about kids. I don't want any of that. That's fine. And I applaud you for that. But also look at your fertility health, because your fertility health is just as important as all of that. Because if you plan on having kids, and let's say you don't want kids till you're in your late 30s or 40s or wherever that might lie in your future, freeze your eggs. You might not use them. That's what I tell my niece. You might not use them, but at least in the back of your mind, they're there. That your
Right.
25-year-old egg is better than your 35-year-old egg. Do you know in some countries, because now I've started talking to other women in other countries and other backgrounds, do you know in some countries, particularly in Bosnia, that if you're 25 years old and you haven't had a baby, you're considered geriatric.
My goodness.
And it's like, that's insane to me because here's the age is 35. So I tell my young, you know, my young girls out there, let's say you want to have a family, protect yourself so you don't have to go through that struggle. And if you get pregnant on your own, great. You decide what you
Right.
want to do with those eggs. You decide what you want to do with them. Because there's a difference
Absolutely.
between eggs and embryos. Once it's an embryo, that means it's been fertilized with the sperm. So,
Yes.
but if you have that option with your husband, let's say, and you're 25 years old and you're not ready, and let's say you're married and you're not ready for kids, at least explore that option with your spouse.
Yes.
Explore it. It doesn't hurt anything. I mean, before we walk out the door every day, we spend, $30 on coffee, right? You're at Starbucks, like, or wherever. But
Right?
so why not invest in your future and in your family? It's like an investment, and you are securing that
That's right.
investment.
It's such good advice. It's so important. I don't remember I never heard anyone suggest that to me, or there wasn't anything I came across that said, oh, invest in your future in this way, right? I kept hearing, oh, you want to get pregnant? Go on vacation. Forget about trying to get pregnant. like the
Yeah,
amount of times, like
yeah.
just
Go
forget
enjoy
about it.
yourself. You have plenty of time because we both have this cause that we really want to bring to light and make it a common conversation amongst us. I started putting content on LinkedIn a couple of months ago in regards to my own personal stories, right? Surrogacy, IVF, and fertility. And my goal in the near future is to build this community of women and moms and aspiring moms and bring this community of like-minded women together and just take this globally and make this a more common thing from just common individuals like myself, like yourself, like we're everyday women just trying to do our best and be our best as moms and
Right.
just exploring and letting them know, hey, I came into motherhood this way. Your motherhood journey looks different, right? And that's the thing is just bringing powerful stories from women, that individual women from every day, and just putting it out there. And for right now, what I've been doing is just my own content, my own knowledge, and building from there. And hopefully that this just becomes a global community, one of the largest global communities of bringing women from all across the world and showing them. And I truly do believe this, that the beauty is in our differences, but at the end of the day, we're just human beings trying to be the best and do the best for our families. And that it's okay if it doesn't happen for you in a normal aspect. There are different avenues to be a mother and to start a family.
Yes. It's so important to know that nothing against celebrities and, influencers, right? I think it's great that they've put their stories out there, but I think it's so awesome, as you say, to hear normal everyday people say, I was able to do that, I struggled and I've been working on this project to become a parent, and I've done this and that, and having all that information out there, I hope that surrogacy and egg donation becomes just as everyday knowledge as IVF is today. Everybody knows pretty much about IVF, yes, but we have so much more to talk about and get the word out about, and just break down the barriers of what people think surrogacy is. It doesn't mean that somebody's husband has to go sleep with somebody to, like, there's all these falsities that it's just like, no, that's not your baby isn't going to suddenly look like the gestational carrier. No. And we shouldn't feel shame about, not having full bellies, not being able to give breast milk, not be, there's all of these other things that people think, well, how are you going to take care of that baby? Are you even prepared? Well, maybe I didn't nest physically, right? But also talk about the importance of nesting mentally and preparing yourself to, from one day your life is yours, and then the next day, yes, you have this child that's here, and how you cope with that. It's not just like, oh, I got my baby, life is grand, everything worked out the way, let me pray and thank God. But no, there's still a lot of steps that have to be taken, to find your groove, to find your family, and to find your community of how you can keep being a better self and a better parent.
Yeah. And another thing too, I want to add that, there's this conception that surrogacy is only for the rich. Only if you're wealthy, you do surrogacy. And I'll be honest with you, like that's so far from the truth. There's people that I know that, are just everyday working people that have done that, and that have made it happen. And there's resources out there. And I think that there needs to be more. I understand there needs to be more, and there's a lot more work to do when it comes to IVF and insurances and things like that, because there's some states that don't even cover, IVF through insurance, which because they're like it's elective, which there's a lot more work that needs to be done on that because that's so far from the truth. And I think that it just needs to be covered. All across, the states. It just needs to be
Yes.
covered. And I believe that there needs to be more resources for surrogacy. So we definitely have our work cut out for us, in
Yes.
terms of bringing more awareness to that and figuring out more ways to help other families to, create families. And I just want to say thank you again, for this opportunity. And thank you for just building this platform, Leslie, and just being able to give, people and women and surrogates just a voice, and families a voice to be able to share their stories. And God willing, they empower, inspire someone listening to it and said, well, she did it or they did it. We could do it.
I am so grateful for our friendship, our conversations, your time today, your knowledge, sharing all of it. Thank you for being by my side, RC.
Yeah, well, thank you. And we have so much more work to do together. So I'm looking forward to it.
That wraps us up for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please check out more of these and similar stories on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at mothersinarms.pod. If you take a few seconds to like and rate the episode on whatever platform you're listening on, thank you. It really goes a long way to getting the word out on this little podcast. At Pretty Easy Podcast and at Dante Pascuso, thank you too. Have a blessed day.